The palace was silent but not peaceful. Marble corridors carried the echo of footsteps, a sound William would never forget. 3 hours earlier, his world had been whole. Now, it lay in ruins. Kate had walked away, her final words slicing deeper than any headline, deeper than any scandal. William stood frozen, his hand still reaching for the door she had closed behind her. At the far end of the hall, Camilla's smirk lingered like smoke after a fire. Cold, triumphant, merciless. Was this the moment the monarchy lost its heart? Or the moment William realized he had lost everything that ever mattered? Before we dive deeper into this emotional unraveling of love, loyalty, and power, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story with friends who love history and drama as much as you do. Your support helps us keep uncovering the truths and tensions behind the royal curtain. Now, let's walk through the corridors of Windsor together, where every step carries the weight of centuries. The morning began deceptively simple, wrapped in the kind of quiet chaos that made the royal household feel almost ordinary. Sunlight poured into Adelaide Cottage, glinting off school books and cereal bowls. Charlotte was hunched over a project, coloring in branches of a family tree with a rainbow of pencils. George, already rumpled in his uniform, muttered about his little brother putting jam in his rugby boots. Louis, proud of the mischief, giggled from under the table. At the stove, Kate moved gracefully between tasks, a woman who had mastered the rhythm of both mother and duchess. She wore an oversized sweater that once belonged to William, her hair tied up casually, strands falling loose around her face. She looked every bit the picture of a devoted mother, but inside something heavy had already begun to break. William stood in the doorway, coffee cup in hand, watching it all. These were the moments he lived for, the fragile, stolen moments of normality in a life otherwise dictated by cameras and duty. But as he lingered there, he also felt the tug of inevitability. It was as if time itself were whispering that mornings like this were numbered. Then the phone rang. It was Charles. And William knew, before even answering, that the day would not end the same way it had begun. "William." Charles's voice came sharp and clipped, carrying that particular tone he used only when matters of state, or matters of crisis, were at hand. "I need you and Catherine at Windsor this afternoon. It's important." There was no explanation, no softness, only finality. William's chest tightened. "All of us?" "Yes, you, Catherine, myself, and Camilla." The line went dead before William could ask another question. He lowered the phone slowly, staring at the floor as though it might give him answers. Across the kitchen, Kate had already gone still. She had lived long enough inside these walls to read the unspoken. She didn't need details. She felt the shift in the air. "What's happened?" she asked softly, though her eyes told him she already knew it was something life-altering. William shook his head. He didn't say. But both of them knew. The monarchy never summoned without reason. The drive to Windsor should have taken 45 minutes, but silence made the journey stretch into eternity. Kate stared out at the passing countryside, fields of green and gold blurring together. Her fingers twisted in her lap, betraying the storm she was holding inside. William tried more than once to start a conversation. Each attempt died in the air. Finally, halfway down the motorway, Kate's voice cracked through the silence like glass breaking. "I can't do this anymore, William." He felt his stomach drop. "Kate, I'm tired," she whispered, her words trembling. "So tired of being measured, judged, torn apart by strangers who think they own me. Every smile analyzed, every dress dissected, every mistake turned into headlines." Her voice shook now and she pressed her palms to her eyes. "I can't breathe in this life anymore." William swerved the car onto a lay-by, the hazard lights flashing. For a moment they sat in the shadow of an old oak tree, cocooned in the hum of traffic rushing past. "You promised we'd face everything together," he said desperately, reaching for her hand. But she pulled back. "What if I'm not strong enough for what's coming?" Her eyes, normally so composed, brimmed with exhaustion. "What if I'm not enough for this crown? For you? For the children?" "You are," William insisted, his voice breaking. "You're more than enough. You're everything." She laughed, a bitter, broken sound that chilled him. "Then why do I feel like I'm disappearing?" As Windsor Castle loomed in the distance, its ancient stone walls glinting in the late morning light, Kate's silence deepened. She sat straighter, smoothing her hair, touching up her makeup with mechanical precision. The transformation was painful to watch. In minutes she had rebuilt the mask the world expected of her, the poised future queen. But William knew. Beneath that mask, she was unraveling. The castle gates opened with regal indifference, swallowing their car into centuries of history. Every brick, every window had witnessed triumphs and betrayals, births and funerals. And now, it would witness something else, an unraveling that no royal biographer could have scripted, a fracture that might change the monarchy itself. As the car rolled into the courtyard, William stole a glance at Kate. Her smile was there, perfect and practiced. But her eyes looked like someone already saying goodbye. They walked through the grand entrance together, hand in hand, the picture of unity. Footmen bowed, portraits stared down from gilded frames, and their footsteps echoed on polished marble. Yet each step felt heavier, as if the castle itself knew what was coming. William's heart pounded. He could still hear her voice in the car. "I can't do this anymore." He wanted to pretend she hadn't meant it, that it was exhaustion speaking, but deep down he knew. She meant every word. And though he tried to squeeze her hand tighter, she was already slipping away. The drawing room at Windsor was cool despite the September sun. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, glinting off centuries-old portraits of monarchs who seemed to watch the present with silent judgment. The air felt heavier than usual, as if the room itself knew it was about to host a conversation that could alter the course of the crown. Charles stood by the window, his back rigid, staring out at the gardens with the posture of a man rehearsing what could not be rehearsed. His profile, once commanding, looked worn, his complexion pale and marked by sleepless nights. Camilla sat elegantly in one of the silk-upholstered chairs, perfectly composed, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough, a silent assertion of her place, her power. Kate and William entered side by side. From a distance they looked the part, calm, regal, united. But William could feel the tremor in Kate's hand as she slipped it from his. "Father," William said softly. Charles turned, his eyes heavy, tired, older than the last time they'd met. "William, Catherine, thank you for coming." Kate offered the expected kiss on Camilla's cheek. The gesture was polite but stiff, more performance than affection. For years there had been civility between the two women, but today it carried an edge. Camilla's faint smile never reached her eyes. "Where are the children?" Charles asked, settling into his chair with deliberate slowness. "At home with Maria," Kate replied, her voice even, though William noticed the subtle tension in her shoulders. "We thought, given the tone of your call—" "Quite right," Charles interrupted gently. "This is not for little ears. It concerns the future of the monarchy." The words landed like a stone dropped into a still pond, rippling outward. Kate's hand, resting on her knee, stilled completely. William's chest tightened. Charles's voice carried both authority and weariness. "My health has taken another turn." The sentence seemed to hang in the air, suspended, refusing to land. Kate was the first to find her voice. "How long?" she asked, so softly William almost didn't hear. Charles hesitated, then met her gaze. "Months. Not years. 6, perhaps 8 if treatments succeed. Less if they don't." William's breath caught. The polished floor beneath him seemed to shift. He heard the grandfather clock in the corner ticking relentlessly, each second hammering away at the time he thought he still had with his father. Memories surged, walking behind his mother's coffin as cameras captured his grief. Nights when he swore his children would never feel the same kind of loss so young. And now here he was, on the edge of that same abyss. Kate reached for his hand instinctively, their fingers interlacing. But almost as quickly he felt her withdraw, folding her arms tightly around herself as if bracing for impact. It was Camilla who broke the silence. "The succession," she said smoothly, her voice calm but laced with new authority. "We will need to adjust the timeline." William's head snapped toward her. The words weren't a suggestion. They were a declaration. "Adjustments?" His voice cracked. "Yes," Charles said, his tone now businesslike, as though he were discussing trade negotiations rather than mortality. "The coronation will likely move forward to spring. George's constitutional training must begin immediately. He cannot wait." Kate's composure faltered. "George is 9 years old," she said sharply, her voice trembling with both fear and fury. "He's a child. He deserves a childhood." Camilla tilted her head, her smile faint, calculating. Diana was younger when she began to learn her role. The name landed like a blow. William's jaw clenched, his heart pounding with anger. To invoke his mother now, to use her as precedent, felt like betrayal. "Diana wasn't born to this," Kate snapped back, her voice suddenly steel. "She had to learn. George shouldn't carry this weight while he was still losing teeth and trading Pokemon cards." The room fell into heavy silence. Charles leaned forward, his voice low, almost pleading. "We all carry burdens we don't choose, Catherine. That is the nature of service." But William saw the change in Kate. Her shoulders slumped, her arms wrapped around herself. She looked less like the poised duchess and more like a woman being quietly broken. Conversation droned on, arrangements, timetables, the delicate choreography of transition. But William's focus remained on Kate. Her smile never returned. Her silence deepened, and in her eyes he saw it, the truth he had refused to face until now. She wasn't just tired, she wasn't just frightened, she was done. And while Charles spoke of crowns and Camilla smirked at the edges of power, William realized the monarchy might be gaining a queen. But he was about to lose his wife. The room at Windsor that day witnessed more than just the planning of a coronation. It witnessed a fracture, a silent collapse within the walls of a family already tested by centuries of sacrifice. Charles, weary and mortal, prepared to pass the crown. Camilla, poised and patient, slid into her long-awaited role. And Kate reached her breaking point. As the echoes of that meeting faded, one truth became clear. The monarchy demanded everything. But even crowns are cold comfort when hearts are breaking, and William, future king, husband, father, stood in the middle of it all, realizing that the love of his life was slipping away. The sound of her retreating footsteps would haunt him forever. So what came next? A final goodbye that would shatter him completely.